Hello, everybody. My name is Jonah from Teachable. Thank you so much for joining us today, whether you're watching live or watching the replay. This month at Teachable is Creator Month, and we're taking the opportunity to talk to a variety of creators, not just about the business, but a little deeper their path to being a full-time creator, why they chose an education-based platform, and what that actual life is like. So if you haven't seen the past lives, go check out. We've had two fantastic creators on already and a few more this month. But today we are talking to you, Ashely Turner. Ashely, how are you doing?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Quite well. Thank you for tuning in. I know you're tuning in from the cold Nova Scotia weather. Is it cold there yet?
Not super cold. I don't know. Where are
Okay.
you?
I'm in Minnesota, so
Okay,
winter's
yeah. So you guys,
looming. Yeah.
yeah, it's coming. It's coming here, but it's not super cold yet. It's still sunny and nice out.
Yeah. Well, just to get started, for anyone who doesn't know who you are or is just tuning in, can you give a little background, who you are, how do you got to where you are? I also like to ask every creator, what is the transformation or what are the outcomes that you're promising with the courses you offer?
Yeah. So we started. I have a partner in my subscription on Teachable, and we do it together. And we started on Instagram and wanted to bring longer content to recipes and tutorials because a lot of people are struggling with sourdough, and it was a way. Instagram is such a short video platform that it was a way for us to really kind of take all of the knowledge that we have surrounding baking, homesteading and that sort of thing, and put it in a platform that allowed people to kind of tune in and develop a community and ask questions and learn a lot more. So that's kind of like how we got started on Teachable, and Teachable allowed us to kind of break it down monthly. And we really kind of enjoyed having that community on there of sourdough enthusiasts, I guess.
And so, as I understand it, sourdough is the courses you sell, but you also have a farm. A lot of your content is about homesteading and all of that. Was was that a life you were living and then decided to make it public and go on social media, or was it a combination? What were
Yeah.
you, what were you and your partner doing before you decided to do this?
Yeah, so it sort of happened at the same time. We moved here and I started the Instagram pretty much right away. And I was like home with our kids, and my husband worked full time, and we started just kind of doing some homesteading, like gardening, and I had some chickens and some sheep, and just like started really small like that. And it just slowly grew, and I documented the whole thing on my Instagram. And so that was kind of really fun for people because lots of people aren't doing that. And especially when we had the lockdowns during all that crazy stuff, it was just a light and fun way for people to tune in and, watch rural living. And then I was teaching sourdough classes in my kitchen at the time. And then all the lockdowns happened. Obviously, I wasn't able to do that anymore. So I took my classes online. To a wider audience. And so I started teaching Zoom classes online. And what I found was there was such a market for that, and it was so much fun, but then that was it and it was done.
Hmm.
And so then I never talked to the people again, and I never really heard from them again. And I didn't really know if they were enjoying the content or if they enjoyed the content. I actually didn't even really have a way of saving it for them long term. So they only got like a few days of watching the replay. And so when we discovered Teachable, it was so much fun because I was like, well, this is even for when I teach a class, I can then upload it into Teachable, and they have a password protected area where they can go in and watch the recording of the class forever. And so it kind of opened up this door of community, of being able to kind of retain those clients, but also be able to connect with them if they were having trouble. And this was sort of like a way that they could kind of all funnel into one place. And so that was sort of the timeline of how we kind of came to be with the subscription.
I want to back up a little because I think a lot of creators take for granted that they choose to be educators, and that's not something that everyone has a knack for or decides. You said you were teaching sourdough courses, like, have you always had a desire to teach? Was that out of necessity? When did it click that you wanted to teach people and make that part of your business or part of your life?
Um, yeah, like I always have. So when I
Okay.
was
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, always. When I was well, I would have been like early 20s. I started like I did like yoga style mat classes. So I was teaching like mat classes and I did that for several years and owned a studio and then closed that. And then the farm, like when we started the Instagram and the farm, that was kind of like the next thing. And so for me, I loved getting in front of people on Instagram and teaching them something, whether it
Hmm.
was how to make butter from milk from our cow or anything like that. I really enjoyed being in front of people and teaching them something that they didn't know. And I really felt like I had an ability to do that in a way that people understood. And that was just really gratifying. And so, the sourdough classes kind of organically came to be because I was able to break down this process that was really confusing for people. And they were watching lots of YouTubers and they were going on Google and finding all these recipes and failing and not really understanding why it wasn't working for them. And I was able to take this, you know, aspect of sourdough or like the whole thing and break it down in a way that they really understood the whole concept of sourdough.
Hmm.
And then it just kind of kept going from there. And so I feel like I'll always teach something, but I really like teaching sourdough. I find it's a very fulfilling experience for people to make their own bread because it's not an easy thing to do. Um, it's easy once you get it, but it's not an easy thing to get. And I think once they get it, they feel so good about themselves, and that's a really fun thing to watch.
Yeah, and then you get to eat it, and it's
And you get to eat
delicious.
it.
Okay, that's so. I'm always fascinated with. I think there's a lot of choices that creators make on their way to being full time that are interesting choices, and I know a lot of people. They want to start a business. They come about how they want to start a business, and then social media is this looming devil that they have to engage with. But it
Yeah.
sounds like you pretty quickly found a knack for it, or it was very fun. How did you figure out just incorporating it into your life versus having it be an adversary or
So I
in
didn't start my social media as a business. I think that's the
Okay.
difference. So I
Okay.
started my social media just because I really liked to teach people. Um, I really liked to share things that I knew and discovered in my kitchen or ways of like feeding my family. And, I grew up in a family where everything was cooked from scratch. And so that's not something apparently that is overly common these days for a lot of people. Cooking all of your snacks and all of your food and all of your meals from scratch. And that's just I just grew up that way. And so when I got on social media, it was really eye opening that that's not how a lot of people live. And so
Mm,
for me, it was more, I just started it to share what we did. And so I was teaching sourdough classes in my kitchen as like a little side hustle, but that wasn't really, I didn't start Instagram for that reason because I didn't actually even really know at the time that I could bring classes online. I didn't know that that
mm.
was even a thing or that people would even sign up for them because before the pandemic most people probably wouldn't have. And then all of a sudden everyone was stuck in their houses and they were like, well, what can I learn to do?
Yeah.
And so it was sort of a second thought. So my Instagram took off long before I ever started a business with it. Because I started it just simply for fun, just to share. And so it was never really like a burden that way because it
Mm.
wasn't, I didn't have any expectation of it. I was just there. I was just on there sharing whatever I wanted to. And if I didn't want to, I didn't. And it never was really a burden like that. So I think that's maybe a difference of some people who start their Instagram specifically for their business. That's how I'm feeling with YouTube right now. I'm like, we're starting YouTube for the business, and that just feels like a much different experience.
Yeah, I think you unknowingly hacked Instagram because it is everyone starts it with a business and then they have all these ways to try and make it fun, but if you just start
Yeah,
by having fun,
having fun.
you
Yeah.
could yeah.
And just giving things away.
Yeah.
I think that's a big thing too. Like I
Yeah.
love to give things away to people on Instagram, like recipes and tutorials. And, the subscription is definitely a lot more in depth than that because you can't give everything away. But it's nice on Instagram to be able to connect with community and to be able to share things for free for people to take, and use for their own families or whatever. And so I hold a lot of value in being able to do that.
Yeah, so, you talked about it a little bit, uh, briefly, but it sounds like you've always had a knack for teaching. You're you understand that experience of having an impact with a student. What was that like when it wasn't in your kitchen anymore, and now you were having an impact with people from all over the world or virtual and all of those
Yeah.
elements? What was that shift like?
That was a huge learning curve for me. If
Sure.
I go back and look at my, like, very first classes I ever taught online, to, like, 12 people or something, you're just kind of talking into the abyss, and it was very it was very strange. However, eventually I got to a point where I had a friend sit and I opened up the chat option on Zoom and people could write. And so they could ask questions as I was teaching. And that really helped me to know
Mm.
that people were listening to what I was saying. And so then it funneled the direction of how I would speak on there. So I actually find it really easy now to teach to a live Zoom class or whether it YouTube or whatever it is versus in the subscription where I'm literally just talking to a camera
Ah,
because there's nobody
yeah.
there.
Yeah,
There
so
will be there. Like eventually someone will watch it and ask me a question. But like in that moment, there's nobody there. So it feels very scripted almost. And I don't do well with that. I just sort of let myself kind of go. Like nothing's scripted on our subscription. It's just very organic. And you're in my kitchen with me and you're making bread or whatever it is. So I have a lot of fun with it like that, but I find it a lot harder than to teach to actual people.
yeah. How do you, because I know a lot, at least for me, a lot of the desire of teaching is getting better, improving,
Hmm.
figuring out new ways to explain the same idea to someone who thinks differently. And like when you're operating virtually and you don't have that immediate feedback, how is that process of improvement for yourself?
Like if I'm taking a video for the subscription, you mean?
Yeah, yeah. How do you tackle improving your teaching? Yeah,
Yeah.
like I used to teach guitar when the student was right in front of you.
Yeah.
You knew right away if something didn't click, but
That's right.
otherwise, yeah.
I know. I do. I struggle a lot. We have hundreds of hours of content in that subscription. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like I guess I could go if I went back and looked at my first videos I ever put in there, I'm sure that I'm better now. I feel a lot more comfortable like flicking on the camera and just talking to people. But um yeah, and I think it helps too to have a partner. My partner who does the subscription with me, like she is brilliant in front of the camera. She is a personality. That's what she is. She just has she's very charismatic. She is so funny to watch and she is just so much fun to be like. I just sit and watch the videos because I put everything in the subscription. So some of the videos are hers and some are mine, and sometimes I'll just sit and watch them because she's just so funny. So I take a lot from her too because she's been a personality, a presence online a lot longer than I have, and
Mm.
she does it so well. Um, and so yeah, I find, and so I go, so she's in Utah and I'm here. So it's very funny that we're so far apart and we do this together. But I usually go to Utah twice or three times a year and we'll do video together. And that's really always so much fun to be there. She's just so light and like funny and just, it's like, it's a good time. It's a party. It's always a party. And so I take a lot from her when I'm like bringing that back into my own kitchen because I tend to be a little bit more serious than she is. And so like I think that's helped a lot for me.
Yeah. So, and I'm curious then, kinda on the reverse end, it's very gratifying it's gratifying to have an impact on your students, but what do you have specific moments or ways in which your students have taught you things, or having that kind of environment has helped you learn more or learn new things?
Yeah, so we also have a Facebook group for the subscription. So anyone who's part of the subscription gets to be on this Facebook group, which is wonderful because I find Teachable, even though it has like a forum option, I don't find people use it as much because people are so used to Facebook. So if they want to type something, they go to Facebook and they like write it out or ask a question or share a picture or whatever. So that's been so fun for me because I get to see who's making the recipes because otherwise I have no idea. And so it's so fun to see people say like, oh, like made, the multigrain sourdough, or I made the croissants or whatever, and here's how mine turned out, or I'm having a lot of trouble with this particular recipe and my dough is really wet. What should I do? Like, it's a really great way to engage specifically with the people who are in the subscription, and they all write in there and they're really vocal. And so oftentimes when I'm flipping through Facebook, because I manage our Facebook group, um, you know, questions will come up over and over and over again. And I'm like, okay, I should really hop on and like explain that a little bit better, because obviously that's a place where people are really struggling. And so that's been really helpful for me, because, I might be teaching croissants and I might whiz through something that feels really easy for me to do, but maybe for people who've never done it, they're really confused by that. And so that's been a really great way for people to help me help them
Yeah.
in video format, or if they're like, hey, we would really like an extra tutorial on this or a recipe about this, and then I can pop that in there. It's super easy for us to do that.
I love hearing about that moment with creators because it seems like when you're an early creator, it can be really difficult to know where to start or what to make. But there's always a tipping point where at a certain point, your audience just tells you what they want. And
Exactly.
you're in playful service with your audience to keep the curiosity going. That's so cool.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we will often go on and say, what do you guys want to see over the next 6 months? And so we just did like a gourmet sourdough cookie month. And there's like, I don't know, I think there's like 20 different cookies, like sourdough cookies in this month. And people were loving it because it's just like, and Lizzie, my partner, is like a cookie fanatic. So she was just like, that was her jam. She just took that and flew with it because she was so excited. And so that was a like a theme. So we try to do themes every month. That was a theme that people really wanted to see. They wanted more, now they have all these cookies that they can like make for their kids for school or make for Christmas, or, like they have that in their back pocket. And, like we always do like a holiday theme and that sort of thing. So it is really nice to be able to, because over time we wonder what we will keep doing for content. And it's nice, like, we haven't run out of ideas yet.
Yeah.
They seem to keep coming because people keep asking for it.
Yeah. So, uh, we were talking just before going live, and you mentioned how you're now pivoting much more to YouTube and that kind of thing. How is it when you have a business that's functioning, expanding to a new platform and a long form platform?
Yeah. Um, yeah, it's very new. Like, we just started our YouTube. I think for me, the biggest reason for that was, I don't put printables of my reels or anything like that in the subscription because I don't want to regurgitate information that's already out there for free for people. I try to only do content in the subscription that is, authentic to that. But what I was finding on Instagram was like people really like the recipes, but there was no way for them to print them off or anything. So YouTube's really great for that because you can link in, you can embed links to kind of like do printables for the recipes. So that was sort of like a driving factor. But as far as like learning YouTube, I have someone helping me because it's very,
Yeah.
I find it to be very daunting. I love to create the content. It's not so much that it's, especially for the farm, like we're building a new house and we have all of our animals. And that's a really fun thing to show in long format because on Instagram you get 1 minute on your
Yep.
stories or whatever it is. So to do a farm tour, that's 20 minutes of like, come walk my farm with me or something like that. um, those types of things are really fun and exciting. It's just getting it in there, and I don't really understand the platform, and that's been a huge learning curve for me.
Sure. Do you think do you see expanding into more long form content is changing some of your goals, or like
Yes.
teaching other stuff and all of that? Yeah.
Yes, I think for sure. I like Instagram. I'll stay on Instagram for sure, obviously. But I'm trying to expand into more long content on YouTube. And I think that, that changes. I think it drives traffic everywhere. I think YouTube does, because it's just such a great way of reaching a different audience. And so I am really excited to, it's been something that I've watched people do for years. I'm like, I don't really know if I want to be a YouTuber. My daughter's like, are we YouTubing now?
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay. So it's like I've like put it off for a really long time, but I'm ready. I'm excited. I have someone helping me that's wonderful. And she's done all my teachable stuff. So she's just kind of like following me over to YouTube to help. Like, if I didn't have that, I don't think I'd be able to do it. But I feel like I'm set up in a way that it'll be really fun.
Yeah. I love it. There's so many different kinds of creators or different reasons people do this. I've talked to a lot of creators who are very much from the get go, I want to be the best teacher in this thing in the world. And that's how they're driven. It sounds like you've been much more following your joy and then being
Yeah.
like, oh, I could make money doing this.
Yeah.
do you
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
you have um do you have, like, specific goals or where you see this going since it wasn't, like, your mission from day one?
Yeah.
You don't have to, I don't mean to rig
Yeah.
the question.
No. Right now, creating content for people really helps support my family. And so for me, as long as it can keep doing that, then I'll keep creating and keep putting it out there. And I'll just, I create the content that I love to do anyways, like you're saying. Like, it's not a job. It's just really fun. And I like putting it out there. And YouTube is just a way for me to continue to support people, that maybe aren't in the subscription or, things like that. So it's just, I think for me, it's just another avenue to put it out there into the world. And so, as far as like a goal, I just need it to keep supporting my family. And that's otherwise, I don't really like, I'm not like, I'm going to be, the best at this in the world, or I'm going to be a millionaire or something like that. It's just like, as long as we keep doing what we're doing and living how we're living, then I'm happy.
And what's a kinda I it's funny to me 'cause I think it's a trope that, like, the farmsteading and the influencer lifestyle would be so different from each other.
Yeah.
But what is a day in your life mixing those 2? And where, do you when you go to milk the cow, do you think I need to set up the tripod every day or
Well, right now we're not milking, but yeah, like
Sure.
when I milk in the field, I would like prop it on a bucket or something like. But I feel like now with you, like, because it's Instagram, right? Like, you can just be
Yeah.
really informal with Instagram, like, hey, I'm here and I'm milking my cow. But like with YouTube, it feels a lot more formal. Like, I feel like
Mm,
I really do have to like bring stuff along with me to set up, and it just feels more formal. I think that's where I'm struggling with YouTube a little bit,
mm,
because it can't be as spontaneous, and I'm very spontaneous when it comes to content on Instagram. It's just like, I should video that right now. Like, I don't ever really premeditate it. And so that's where I'm struggling with YouTube. But for us, a day, like, so we homeschool our kids. So they are homeschooled. My husband works on the farm full time. We're building a house and a barn right now. So he's also generaling that. And so it just depends on the day of the week. I have 2 days a week where I am either filming or I'm editing for our subscription content, and now YouTube as well. And then the other days we're homeschooling, or my daughter rides horses. So often we're like driving to whatever she's doing for her horses. And, once our house is done, we won't be building that. But right now my husband spends a lot of time back there building that. So I don't know. It's pretty busy.
And does your husband not have to work anymore?
No, so we have a full herd of Wagyu cattle. And so that's,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, I saw you sell your own meat. That's awesome.
Yeah. So, and we
Yeah.
do genetics and stuff too with that. So that's his kind of full-time job. He used to work off the farm full-time. And then not this past June, but the one before it, he left his kind of day job and is now on the farm full-time.
Okay, a total tangent pivot, but are there things about the farm or living on a farm in autumn that you're excited about?
Yeah, this is my favorite season. Although I will say that I just I feel really like I spend the whole time dreading winter. I'm like I'm like, "It's so beautiful, but I know it's coming. I know it's
Yeah.
coming." No, it's beautiful here in the fall. We have so many trees and they're all changing color, and it's like you're not too hot. We can ride our horses and not feel like, they're dying of heat. And, I love the farm in the fall. The mornings are really cold, but then it warms up in the afternoon. And so, yeah, it's a great time of year here. Summers are super hot and humid here. And then winters are like, well, you guys would have crazy winters too, wouldn't you? In
We
Minneapolis.
do. Yeah. I've only been here 2 years. I'm still
Yeah,
getting used to it, but
not nice. I don't love
it's
it.
I I used to live in Seattle where it was just, like, wetter all
Okay.
winter and gray, so I like the, like, full shift where it's like, "Oh, now we live
Okay.
in the Arctic
Yeah.
for 6 months," and
Yeah,
it's
it's aggressive, but yeah,
but it takes
it's
it takes
it's a
getting
lot.
used to. Yeah.
Yeah, and well, we're right on the ocean too, so it's, like, really, like, chill your bones, like, right to your bones cold. But, yeah, I think for me with the farm, so we're building the barn this year. That'll make life a lot easier because our cattle have pretty much been outside every winter, so that'll make a huge difference. But, yeah, I find winter the hardest here for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we gotta slowly wrap up here, but I wanted to ask you just a couple more questions before we have to sign off. One, I just really love talking to, and there's other creators like you, but I think it's far and few between someone who follows just their passion and then ends up being in one of these interviews with me. Because normally it's like, how did you build your business? A, B, C, D, E, F.
Yeah, I don't have a very good strategy. Just do it.
but but in that vein, like, do you have any advice for someone starting out on just like how to keep it fun? Because I think that makes everything so much easier if you're having a good time.
Yeah. So a friend of mine who is very successful on YouTube just recently, and we were chatting about that, and she was like, just look at it as a service to those who have been following along for so long. And if it turns into something more than that, then great. And so
Mm,
that's sort of like a really wonderful, because that's what I did with Instagram. And for whatever reason, that's not really how I'm approaching YouTube. It feels more formal. Um, and I just loved that. And so I feel like for me, and I don't know, maybe that's terrible business advice, but for me, it's like, give people something that they need, or that they don't even know that they need. And, just give it to them and
mm,
see where you land. And then eventually, and then tell your story. And then eventually for me, it was like, I was years in to telling my story and giving things away for free, that I was like, hey, I think I'm going to start teaching some classes to make some money. And people were so excited to support that.
mm,
They were with me for years at that point. They knew my family, they knew what we were doing. They really wanted to help, they wanted to support it, they wanted to be part of the beginning of something. And that's a long road. That's like definitely not you start your business and in 2 months you're making money. But for me, the only way that it worked for me, is that you build relationships first, you give people something they're not sure that they need, and then they have a relationship and they trust you. So
Mm,
they trust you to pay you for something.
yeah.
They know you can teach. They know how you teach. They've been listening to you for so long. They want to learn more from you. And then for me, that just kind of slowly progressed into filling sourdough classes online and now the subscription
Yeah. It sounds like you also didn't ask much of your audience for quite a while.
for quite a while.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know it can be a long road. Well, and there's many different ways of doing this,
Different
but
ways for
yeah.
sure.
But I love
Yeah.
I love hearing I love hearing when it just works out and that you're still having it sounds like you're having a blast.
Yeah, it's really fun. I am. I love it.
Well, thank you so much, Ashley. My last question is just it sounds like your YouTube channel is new. So for anyone watching, go follow that at Turner Farm. And
Yeah.
then anything else you want to call out or exciting new things you're up to that people can check out or where to find you?
Well, yeah, so our Instagram is turner.farm and then our YouTube is Turner Farm. And you know, the subscription is linked in there on Instagram if you're interested in learning more. But there's, lots of free content on there too, and it's a fun place to be. I like being there.
Love it. Thank you, Ashley, so much for being here. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Please like and subscribe to the channel. Look out for the other live events coming up. Go check out Ashley. The link to their farm website, too, is in the description. And hope you all have a wonderful day. We'll be back soon. Ashley, if I don't see you before, good luck in the winter, and I'll talk to you
Thanks.
soon. Bye.